Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is a companion video. Now, what are companion videos? I'm glad that you asked. You see, every day on the John Campea Show, Monday through Friday, we take the second half of the show to take your live comments and questions. However, we often don't have enough time to get through all the comments and questions that get sent in. We start to get backed up a little bit, so I like to make sure those unanswered questions get addressed properly in a video, and that's what we do here on companion videos. And I'm awfully glad that you're spending some time with us here today. And I want to let you guys know that you can send in a comment or question to be read during the live comments and questions segment of the show anytime, 24/7. You just go to the tip link that's in the top of the description of this video, or you can enter it in manually at streamelements.com/movieblogtv/tip. You'll be getting your comment or question on the show if it's reasonable. And of course, you'd be supporting the channel at the same time. And all of us involved with the John Campea YouTube channel, thank you guys very, very much for that. All right, let's not waste any time and start getting caught up on those questions you guys have sent in. And we're going to get things started here with Andrew Nathan, who writes, "Hey, John, love the show." Thank you so much, Andrew. "Just wanted to tell you that Zach confirmed the Snyder Cut will be in European widescreen while he was on his Vero account a few months ago. And if I'm not mistaken, he wants there to be a monochrome IMAX theater release also." Okay, yeah, so this is in relation to another comment that somebody sent in the other day saying that that's it. They don't want to have anything to do with the Snyder Cut because they heard that it's going to be in the 4:3 aspect ratio. The 4:3 aspect ratio, of course, is the old television aspect ratio. 16:9 is the common ratio today. That's the one we're most familiar with today. My thoughts on that were, is it unusual if they do it in 4:3? Sure, but why not? Listen, if Zack Snyder did do it in 4:3, I would think that's an unusual thing to do, but it could be interesting. It could be neat. And it doesn't take away from the story. I mean, ultimately, that's what a movie comes down to, is the story. And if he could present the movie in 4:3, great. The only concern I had about that was they keep saying the Snyder Cut is the original vision Zack Snyder had, and clearly it's not. They're adding new material. They've changed a few things around, whatever. And that's, to me, again, that's also perfectly fine. But you'll never be able to convince me that the original vision Zack Snyder had for Justice League on the big screen was 4:3 aspect ratio. But honestly, besides that, I don't think, even if he did want to do it in 4:3 aspect ratio, I don't think that's any reason to say, I'm not going to give that movie a chance. Maybe it'd be really cool, you know? Give it a shot. So the one thing that is the monochrome thing, because I know we put up the one trailer in black and white. It's like, I get it. You saw Logan did it, and it was really cool for Logan. I don't think at all Justice League is the movie for that. Like, I also don't think another movie that Zack Snyder did that I hold very dear to my heart, Man of Steel, I don't think that would have been good in monochrome or black and white or anything like that either. I don't think this is the right movie to have that fit. I get it. It looked cool when Logan did it. Logan's a different kind of movie, but again, maybe he'll decide to do it and we'll all go, you know what? That was really cool. Let's give it a shot. All right, next up. Who do we got next? We've got Viva, who writes, one of two. "Ever since it was announced that Jonathan Majors would be joining the Ant-Man movies, I couldn't help but think he would be taking over as the Black Panther. Then a chat from another viewer mentioned the surprise appearance of Black Panther in another movie as a way to soften the blow of the new Black Panther. I liked him in Lovecraft, and I think he definitely has the physicality to play the part. P.S. Love the show and all the filthy." Well, thank you for that, Viva. Yeah, so Jonathan Majors, star of Lovecraft Country on HBO. Great show, by the way. I didn't like episode 2, and that was it. I loved every other episode. Wonky show, but it's really great, and Majors is really, really good in it. They, of course, announced a little while ago that he was going to be in the upcoming Ant-Man 3, probably as a villain. Some people speculating that it could be Kang. Some of the trades are speculating it could be Kang, whatever. Could they have actually cast him to be the new Black Panther? Listen, never say never, but I'm going to say absolutely not. 100% not, and I'll tell you why. It would be a PR nightmare. Because one of the things that I've said lately, and I, Rob and I discussed this, and Rob and I both agree about this, is that they're probably going to take their time casting. And even if they do cast him relatively soon, if they cast the new T'Challa relatively soon, they're not going to make it publicly known for a while. They're going to let the public, kind of deal with the loss of Chadwick Boseman for a while. And then as late as possible, they'll come out and say, we have decided on this actor as a way to honor Chadwick Boseman and to pick up the baton for him and carry forward with the T'Challa character. And, we do it all in memory of Chadwick Boseman and blah, blah. But they're going to wait on that. If it were to come out that they literally turned around within a couple of weeks and replaced Chadwick Boseman after his passing, that just wouldn't play well. That's just a bad look. That would just be a very, very bad look. And it has nothing to do, like Jonathan Majors, is he a talented enough actor to play the role? I think so. Definitely has the physicality for it, but you got to have that physicality to play just about any role in a comic book movies these days. But for that reason and that reason alone, I really don't think they just cast him to replace Chadwick Boseman. They've got tons of time. They are not going to need Black Panther on screen for at least another year or two. So, and maybe even 3. So I just don't see any need to rush the casting. It would backfire in their faces as a PR nightmare, as being really disrespectful if they just, while we were still just lamenting the loss of Chadwick Boseman, that's just like that, they run out and play. I just don't think it would play well. And so because of that, I don't think that's what they're going to do. But stranger things have happened. Let's keep our eyes on Aviva. Thanks a lot for sending that in. All right, next up, Willow writes, because the theater experience cannot be replicated at home, do you think there will still be enough people opting to watch films in theaters rather than online, such that theaters will always exist in some capacity? Yeah, I think here's what I believe is we're entering into. And it's tragic. It's absolutely tragic, but it is what I believe is happening now. Is that the movie theater industry as we know it, and the model that exists with studios and theaters and the theatrical experience and all that kind of stuff, that is coming to an end. But there will still be movie theaters. I liken it unto records, like vinyl records, right? The day of records being the primary vehicle of music delivery. People would go to to their record shops and buy records, and that's how you got your music at home, was your record collection, right? That came to an end. Are there still record players? Yes. Is vinyl still being published? Yes. But it's not that heyday came to an end. I believe there will still be movie theaters to one degree or another doing different things, but that era that we've been in, this golden age of theater, and of the movies that made everybody lots of money and delivered us the greatest movie experiences of all time. That model's coming to an end. But yeah, again, I believe it is much like the record player. There's always going to be vinyl. There's always going to be record players, but it's going to be a niche thing. And I think that's kind of what movie theaters are going to become. But who knows? Well, look, there's a lot to be seen still. Like, there's not enough. We don't have enough evidence gathered up here to make definitive statements. This is just the way I see it going right now. But as new information comes in, maybe we'll all change the way we're seeing it. But who knows? All right, next up. Thanks for that, Willow. Next up, High Flyers Tag Team. Tipped in $20. Thank you, High Flyers, for supporting the channel on that level. We appreciate that, man. Hey, John. With the recent news of Wonder Woman 1984, do you think Godzilla vs. Kong will get a trailer in December attached to it? And how do you think this affects the Warner Brothers movie dates? Do you think Godzilla vs. Kong will likely stay in May and maybe even go to HBO Max? All right, as far as the trailer part goes, I don't see them attaching a trailer to it, and here's why. And by the way, I don't know that they're not going to do that. Let's be very clear. I don't know that they're not going to do that. My guess right now is that they won't, and here's why. Putting out trailers in theaters is expensive, right? It's big money. Not as much as primetime TV spots, mind you, but it's still money. You got to pay to put trailers in front of movies. The reality is, were this in a pre-pandemic era that we were in right now, you could expect packed movie theaters. And so you're getting a certain bang for your buck by paying advertising dollars to get your trailer, Godzilla versus Kong in this instance, in front of packed theater houses. The theaters aren't going to be packed. There's a lot of theaters not even open. So I just don't see the bang for your buck value as an advertiser dropping brand new trailers in that environment. I mean, I could see, hey, look, HBO will sometimes run little spots before. I could see HBO running a Godzilla trailer on HBO Max, because that wouldn't cost them anything if they want to do that. But I don't think they're going to put it in theaters. I just don't think they're going to put it in theaters. All right, Jason Riaz writes, hey, John. Oh, wait, you had one other question there. No, I don't think Godzilla vs. Kong is going to stay in theaters. I don't know. I also don't think it's going to stay in May. If it does stay in May, it's definitely going to HBO Max. But again, these are not things that I know. These are things that I think right now. Right now, the way everything's going here, High Flyers, to me, it looks like I believe Godzilla vs. Kong is probably going to go the HBO Max route. So we'll see, though. Again, as we progress, as the weeks pass, maybe we change our opinions on that as we get more information. But for now, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Anyway, thanks again for sending that in, man. All right, Jason Riaz writes, hey, John. People keep asking, what if on Snyder Cut? And I think that of Justice League, you probably mean if Justice League is a massive success, then maybe they'll take a look at Ben's Batman script as an HBO series. I believe Batman will be the biggest change in Justice League. They're doing Green Lantern. Why not Batman? I mean, it all depends. Like, historically speaking, it depends on how you look at Batman. Historically speaking, Warner Brothers, for a long time, Warner Brothers was very protective of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. That you can fiddle with other characters on TV, but you got to protect Batman and you got to protect Superman. These are IPs and characters that will bring in huge amounts of money at the box office. For a long time, that was the mindset. Bring in huge dollars to the box office. What you cannot afford is to lessen the value of these characters by having them pop up all over the place, right? Because, I mean, all you got to do is watch Pawn Stars to know the more readily available something is, the less valuable it becomes, right? If you've got Batman on 3 CW shows and on a miniseries and in the movies, the value of that IP decreases. If Batman only pops up in movies once in a while, the value of the IP increases. And they were absolutely right to have that mindset. That's true. Like, I don't believe a Green Arrow movie today would do as well as maybe if they had decided to do a big feature Green Arrow film before the CW had Green Arrow. Because now there's certain baggage attached to it. I don't mean that in a negative way, just be clear. But now there's a certain presuppositions about the character. It was a CW show, which will devalue it to some people and all that kind of stuff. But it's a different era now, right? Warner Brothers had no problems putting Superman on TV and crapping all over him. To me, that lowered the value of Superman. To me, that was still disgraceful. What they did to the Superman character on CW is just disgraceful to me. But at any rate, I'm not going to go off on another one of those rants. But look, anything's possible. Anything's possible. Again, though, I just want to temper people's expectations. Okay? Here are facts. Okay? These aren't opinions. Here are some facts, and then I will follow up those facts with some opinions as to my interpretation of the facts. Fact number one, Man of Steel. Fact number one, Zack Snyder, the public has already had a decent sample size of Zack Snyder's DC sensibilities, right? We've seen a number of Zack Snyder's films exhibiting his DC universe sensibilities, all right? Starting with Man of Steel. Now, despite the fact I've got a Man of Steel Henry Cavill overlooking my show over there in the corner right now. I've got Man of Steel's Hot Toys. I've got Man of Steel novelization. I've got Man of Steel everything. I love Man of Steel. All right. It is the most underrated comic book film of all time. But the fact is Half the audience hated it, and half the critics hated it. I disagree with all of them, but those are the facts. I can't mention how much I love Man of Steel on my show without getting bombarded on Twitter and Facebook and in the comment section. Man of Steel sucks. And that's fine. Everybody's allowed to have their opinion. All films subjective. It's cool. But that's the reality. Then we got Batman versus Superman. And I like Batman versus Superman. I love the Batman iteration in that movie. But the fact is, half the audience hated it. Half the critics hated it, and it desperately underperformed at the box office. A movie that has Batman and Superman automatically in its sleep without any effort should have been $1 billion film and had the potential, a bit of a stretch, but a potential nonetheless to be a $2 billion film. But $1 billion in its sleep it should have got, and it didn't. And I thought it was a good movie. But the fact is, half the audience hated it, half the critics hated it. So we already have 2 full movies that the audience has been able to have to get a sense of Zack Snyder's DC universe taste and what the DNA of a Zack Snyder DC movie is. And the results are irrefutable. There are those like me that like it. And then there are those like half the other, and that is the true definition of divisive. Zack Snyder's DC sensibilities are incredibly divisive. Half the people hate it. I happen to be on the side that like it, but half the people hated it. I say all that. This leads into the opinion part. Those parts are facts. Now here's the opinion part. I don't see any basis for an assumption or to believe that all of a sudden, like Tinkerbell sprinkling magical fairy dust on the world, now everybody's going to suddenly like Zack Snyder's DCU sensibilities. I don't see any basis for believing that. I believe Zack Snyder is still going to make a Zack Snyder DCEU film with the Justice League miniseries. It's still going to be a Zack Snyder DC project. And what I believe that means, and this is the all opinion part, what I believe that means is those of us like me who do like Zack Snyder's DC sensibilities are going to like it. I'm expecting that I'm going to quite enjoy his iteration of Justice League in the miniseries format. But I also believe it means that there's tons of people out there, half the audience out there, have already tasted sample sizes, a couple of films, of his DC sensibilities and already know they don't like it. And I don't see anything happening that's going to suddenly magically change their minds. So, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. I don't need people to like Man of Steel for me to revere Man of Steel. I don't need people to like Batman versus Superman for me to like Batman versus Superman. And I don't need, if I end up enjoying Justice League, which I suspect that I will, the miniseries, I won't need other people to like it for me to like it. And that's fine. But again, if Justice League is this big smash hit that everybody around the world loves, and that's possible. That's possible. I'm just saying I don't see any basis for believing that that could actually happen. But whatever. We'll have to actually wait and see, and then we'll go from there. All right, next up. Jason Riaz also writes, what are you looking forward to most in Snyder's Justice League? I can't wait to see how he used Batman in this movie. I'm also very curious to see how different Steppenwolf is. I have a feeling he's going to turn out to be a badass villain, I hope. I expect very, very little difference other than aesthetics with Steppenwolf. Very, very few differences. But here's the one thing I'm looking forward to. I already said in Batman versus Superman, we had my all-time favorite iteration of Batman. There is something, Ben Affleck's Batman, in that particular movie, to me, is the most profound and frankly most accurate depiction of Batman on the big screen ever. I'm not saying that Batman versus Superman was better than Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying this is my favorite manifestation of the character, right? I've said this many times. I'll say it again. Ben Affleck and Zack Snyder, it played out. I mean, look, in Christopher Nolan's and Christian Bale's Dark Knight, they give lip service to that, truly at his core, he's Batman and Bruce Wayne is kind of the facade. They give lip service to that. But when you watch the movie, no, that's Bruce Wayne and Batman is the facade. And they made a great movie out of it. Like, a lot of people consider it to be the greatest all-time comic book movie. But what Ben Affleck and Zack Snyder did with Batman in Batman versus Superman is, to its core, that being, that individual is Batman. And Bruce Wayne is this fake facade. They understood that in that dark alley years ago, when Bruce Wayne's parents, Thomas and Martha, died, Ben and Zach understood that Bruce also died. That night, Bruce Wayne died, and the Batman was born. And to really notice the differences between the Bale and Nolan manifestation of Batman in the Dark Knight and Affleck and Snyder's is look at when they're just in the Batcave talking to Alfred. In the Dark Knight, when Bruce is talking to Alfred, he's very much Bruce Wayne. Maybe not as playboyish as he is in front of the cameras, but he's still Bruce Wayne talking to Alfred. But when Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne is in the Batcave talking to Alfred, he's Batman. Even if he's not wearing the mask and not wearing the cowl, he's Batman. And what does all that have to do with what I'm looking forward to in the Justice League miniseries? While I enjoyed Justice League, the theatrical version of Justice League, I enjoyed, and I make no apologies for that, right? I make no apologies for that. As a matter of fact, what a lot of people conveniently overlook these days, if I bring it up, is, hold on a second, maybe Superman. What a lot of people overlook these days is that the Justice League theatrical edition has higher ratings than Batman versus Superman by like 11%. Neither of them have great ratings. Don't get me wrong. Neither of them have great ratings, but Justice League, the theatrical version, actually has higher ratings than that. But so I just say that to make the point that I liked the Justice League theatrical edition. I like that one. But the one thing about that movie, and there are problems with the film, just like there are problems with Batman versus Superman 2. Yeah, but the one thing about the Justice League theatrical version that truly bothered me was they changed Batman from Batman versus Superman, who was Batman at the core and Bruce Wayne was the facade, and they switched that around in the Justice League theatrical version, where now Bruce Wayne was really who he is and Batman is just the facade he puts on. That was a complete reversal of direction on the Batman character. And I like the Justice League theatrical movie, and I make no apologies for that. I'll win any debate over it. But even I, whose own subjective opinion is that I like the movie, I gotta say that's the one part of it, even though it had some other problems, but that's the one thing about that movie that really bothered me. So to answer the question, if there was any one thing that I would put my finger on to say, this is what I am hoping to see in the HBO Justice League miniseries, is reversing course and making Batman the same Batman we had in Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice. That is the one thing I hope to see. Because quite frankly, that iteration of Batman that Zack did, and for all I know, listen, for all I know, Zack Snyder is still the director of credit of the Justice League theatrical edition. For all I know, that change of direction on Batman was Zack Snyder's doing. I don't know. But if it was Joss Whedon's doing, then I would really like to see Zack Snyder reverse course on that and get Batman back to the same Batman we had in Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. That's saying Batman a lot of times. Anyway, that would be the one thing I'm looking for. That would be the one thing I'm looking for. Okay, next up. Smiley Face writes, you can talk all day long about the financial model of Disney Plus, but let's be real here. 95% of those subscribers only signed up to experience Artemis Fowl. It was so damn good, everyone decided to keep their Disney Plus subscriptions to endlessly rewatch it. Well, that's one way of looking at it. And I notice it's not just a smiley face, it's a winky face. Yeah, I mean, I remember still, I was one of the only people who actually liked the trailer for Artemis Fowl. I thought it was good. Now listen, full disclosure, I've never read the Artemis Fowl books. I had no prior knowledge of Artemis Fowl. I just watched a trailer and I thought the trailer was pretty good. So I was looking forward to watching it. And I still remember the shock and surprise of a lot of people, myself included, when Disney announced that they were going to move it straight to Disney Plus. As it turns out, they did that because that movie was awful. That movie was really bad. And I think they just wanted to, there's no point in letting it sit on the shelf. Might as well just get it out and rip the Band-Aid off. So that's kind of what they did with that. All right. Thanks for that, man. All right. Trevor Macy writes, hey, John, huge fan of the show. Thank you so much, Trevor. With the overwhelming popularity of Baby Yoda, do you think the show will suffer once the Mandalorian finally reaches the goal of giving the child back to its species? Thanks, and may the Force be with you always. Well, here's the thing, Trevor. I don't believe we're ever going to see Baby Yoda not on the show. I mean, in general, not just for maybe a couple of episodes. I mean, I don't think Mandalorian will ever still be on where it's not still Mando and the child. Because it was... A lot of people tuned into Mandalorian when it debuted. But it's when the images of the Baby Yoda started circulating that the internet blew up. And people who have never watched anything Star Wars related before were suddenly getting on Disney Plus and wanted to see this Baby Yoda thing. It has become, whether it was intentional or not, and I believe it was intentional, but whether it was intentional or not, Baby Yoda has become as much a part of the DNA of this show as, Mando himself. But John, the name of the show is Mandalorian, not Mandalorian and Baby Yoda. Oh, I understand that, but it doesn't matter. It don't matter. The Baby Yoda character is now as much a part of the DNA of this show as the title character himself. That's just what it is. And you suddenly take Baby Yoda away from that show. Listen, there are a lot of people who aren't Star Wars fans who watch Mandalorian. You're going to lose a lot of those people if Baby Yoda isn't there anymore. I'm just telling you, that's just what's going to happen. I think my wife's going to lose interest in the show if suddenly Baby Yoda's not there anymore. And again, I don't know if they did that intentionally or not. I suspect they did do it intentionally, but I think either he's not going to get the child back to the Yoda species until they're ready to end the show, or he will find them, but they're just going to say, raise him, you must, and just say, hey, look, you've done such a great job with him, protecting him and whatever, and he should stay with you. Whatever it is, I just don't see Mandalorian as a show continuing on without Baby Yoda being a part of it. Again, I don't know that. That's just my guess right there, though, Trevor. Let's see what happens. All right, next up, Ahmed Z writes, if you like going to theaters, you win. If you like to stay at home and watch the movies on release date, you win. No, that's absolutely incorrect thinking, Ahmed, and I'll explain why. Why can't everyone do what Warner Media is doing with Wonder Woman 84? I feel like everyone will be happy. Sorry to hear about the injury to the lip. Yeah, that literally was tingling for days. Like the swelling went down that same day, but the tingling was there. Oh, that was brutal. Anyway, here's why that doesn't work, Ahmed. Seriously. Everybody in the current model, everybody wins. In the current model, everybody wins. Movies come out in theaters. People get to have a night out, get out of their damn house. The one thing about the streaming stuff that really concerns me in the death of the movie theater experience, besides the fact that it is the best way to watch a movie, but the other thing is this, it's more and more things just turning us into losers. Like, and which is, what did I do last night? I sat on my ass at home on my couch and watched UFC. Okay. What did I do about the night before that? Well, I sat on my ass at home on my couch and I played this video game. UFC is great. Video games are great. I'm just saying. So what did I do last night? Sat on my ass at home on my couch and watched UFC. What did I do the night before that? Sat on my ass at home on my couch and played a video game. What did you do the night before that? Sat on my ass at home and watched on my couch and watched Mandalorian. What did you do the night before that? Sat on my ass at home and on my couch and watched watched some of Schitt's Creek. Whatever it is, more and more we are turning into social losers that never leave the house. And it's funny, we will joke sometimes about, man, that was my dream to never leave my house. But really take a step back. Socially, that's really crippling. And I feel like William Shatner on that great SNL skit where he played himself, William Shatner. Have you guys ever seen this sketch on Saturday Night Live? If not, you should look it up. This was well over a decade ago, maybe 20 years ago that this happened. But he was a guest host on Saturday Night Live. And they did this sketch where he plays himself and he's at a Star Trek convention and he's taking questions from the audience. And they're also asking questions. In episode 3 of this, could it have been that the dilithium was, and they're asking all these questions. And finally, William Shatner has enough. He goes, listen, you got to get out. And he points at one guy, you with the pointy ears. Have you ever touched a girl or something along those lines, right? And I feel like more and more, that's what we are collecting. And I include myself in this, by the way. I'm not just pointing my fingers at a bunch of you losers. I'm including myself in this too. It's like we are in danger of becoming socially huge losers. And I include myself in this list, like totally do. Where all we want to do is just sit at home on our ass, sitting on our couch, just like we did last night, just like we did the night before that, just like we did the night before that. So there's nothing winning about this. Anyway, that's a little side social commentary thing. Let's progress. So one of the reasons why I love that, just before I started recording this video, my wife and I went out for a 5-mile bike ride. Just jumped on our bikes, went for a 5-mile ride. It's great to get out of the house. Anyway, why can't everyone do what Wonder Woman is doing with Wonder Woman 84? I feel like everyone will be happy. No, see, here's the thing. The current model, everybody wins. Because you have your theatrical experience. People get out to the movies. The studios make lots of money. The theaters make lots of money. We get all of that, and the theatrical experience is there. The best way, the only real way to watch a movie and all that kind of stuff. And then a few months later, it all comes out at home. So people who would rather watch it at home, guess what? You win. You get it at home. You get to watch it at home. The only little catch is you got to wait a little bit, but you get it. It's there. Under the new model, here's the problem that everybody forgets. I explained this on the John Campea Show the other night, but the movie theater business is a razor thin margin business. It is a razor thin margin business. They don't make a lot of money. Oh, it looks like they make all the money in the world. But the difference between a profitable year and a loss year for a movie theater is razor thin. It's razor thin. Between the fact that they work so hard, spend all this money, build these screens, make these temples, spend untold hundreds of millions of dollars and rentals of theaters and blah, blah, and the best projectors and all this kind of stuff. The staff, like every theater itself has umpteen number of people on staff and blah, 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 blah. And the studios, when the theater sells a movie ticket, they instantly got to give away 2/3 of it back to the studios and blah. Anyway, but if you now introduce a model where it's playing, this is why movie theaters for so long fought to keep the theatrical window in places, because if you have day and date releases, Wonder Woman in theaters, Wonder Woman at home, there is going to be a certain percentage of people, and let's for argument's sake say it's 30 or 40% of people, that'll go, because we're now conditioned to be social losers who just do nothing but sit at home on our asses, but you're going to get a certain percentage of people to do that. The margins are so thin of movies at movie theaters that movie theaters can't sustain that. The movie theater industry, as we know it, cannot sustain that. That sudden loss of 30 to 40% of people who would have come to the theater to see it otherwise. Therefore, long-term, theaters are going to close, all that kind of stuff. So ultimately what we're going to get is the people, the best movie theater I should say the best movie watching experience is going to be taken away because theaters can't stay in business with that. They're not going to be able to stay in business. That's going to be gone. And so now you have one side getting what they want and the other side getting nothing. Under the current model, both sides win. You got the theatrical experience, theaters make enough money to stay in business, studios make tons of money at the box office, and then it comes out at home, and everybody who wants to watch it at home can watch it at home. With one drawback that you had to wait a little bit, but that's it. You still had it. Not like this. And so, unfortunately, Ahmed, there's so many things wrong with what you're proposing. Theaters can't stay in business under that model. There's not a lucrative enough incentive for studios to aim things at theaters under that way. It's just going to revert to one side gets what they want, which is really a loss for everybody. And the other side just loses, a cultural institution. And it is the way it's going. It is the way it's going. But yeah, there it is. And by the way, I keep saying this. Everybody ignores me when I say this. But it's absolutely true. I remember back in the day when, cutting the cord became a viable thing. And I was one of the very, very first people to become a cord cutter. I canceled my cable subscription and I started getting all of my entertainment over the internet. I was one of the, I bought the first generation of Roku, within 3 weeks that it was released. I was one of the first subscribers to Netflix. But I remember at that time, pundits in the space were saying, because a lot of us are going, yeah, let's get rid of cable and we'll cut the cord. And I was one of these people. Cut the cord, cut the cable. It'll be way better and cheaper. It'll be so much cheaper for us than spending this ridiculous $100 and some odd for my cable bill. And blah. It will be better and it'll be cheaper. And I remember at the time there were all these pundits saying, mark our words, it's going to become more expensive than the cable stuff. It's going to become more expensive. And people like me, I was one of them, went, oh, you're just being salty that the cable industry's going down. Viva streaming. Streaming's the way. You're just being salty. It's going to be cheaper. It's going to be the Shangri-La for all of us streamers. And I was one of the, and I'm still to this day a cable cutter. I haven't had cable in, I got to be going on 10 years. I got to be getting close to 10 years. I haven't kept count, but I've been a cord cutter for a long time. But guess what's happened? I think I talked about it on the John Campea Show a little while ago. I remember the date when I looked at all my bills for a month because I'd added another streaming service and I went, oh my God, it's happened. I now officially pay more money for streaming services than I did for my cable bill. It's happened. They were right. They were right. Now, I'm not suggesting at all that I want to go back to the old days, and I didn't then go out and subscribe to a cable service again. I didn't. I'm just saying that they were right. That is what happened. Now, there are certain advantages to streaming and all that kind of stuff. That's why I'm still a streamer, and I'm not going back to cable. I never am. But those foreboding warnings that we were being given by pundits at the time and ended up being very true, and people like me who were just calling them salty and crusty, oh, you're just being so that was me doing that. Turns out they were 100% right, and I was 100% wrong. Because today I spend more on streaming than any cable bill. And this kind of translates now into, you're getting some pundits, now me included, saying, this is ultimately like when the theater model is now old and gone and it's all left with streaming, believe this, whether it's going to take 5 years for you to look back on this and realize that all these people, and I'm throwing myself in with these people now, were right, or whether it's going to take 7 years to do it, but believe this, we are now going to get to it. There's no more incentive for once these streamers have completely taken over. And I love my streaming, but once they have completely taken over and the theatrical model is gone, they're not going to put out as many great movies anymore. They're going to fill their streaming things with low budget crap. You already see it happening. Netflix puts out 10 times more low budget crap than the odd decent thing they put out. Disney Plus has been cranking out all this low budget non-premium garbage while they put out in an entire year 1 season of Mandalorian and Hamilton. Whereas last year, they put out like $8 billion films. That's not going to happen anymore because they don't need to. And it's actually not cost effective for them to make these big, great spectacle films, at least not more than 1 or 2 a year. Last year was an amazing time to be a film fan. All sorts of box office records broken, some amazing, big, high-profile, marquee, tentpole premium movies that a lot of us love. Some of them not so good, but for a lot, we're not going to have that anymore. You mark my words. You mark my words. Because streaming is really more about library than original content. Original content, exclusive original content is definitely a big draw. But what we've seen is like Disney Plus became a 73 million subscriber service with no original content, essentially. No original premium content, essentially, other than one season of Mandalorian and Hamilton. And that was it. Everything else, low budget, this little, and their library. And so you can say, you can say all you want. Oh, no, it'll still be just as good. They'll still, 5 years from now, they'll still be putting out like 200, they'll put like 200 million, they'll be serious about it. They'll put like $200 million into a big Avengers movie and blah, blah. No, they won't. No, they won't. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'm just being pessimistic. Maybe I'm just being pessimistic. I am being pessimistic, but the business model, when you really break down the numbers, it doesn't make financial sense for them to work that hard or to put that much into their content. They're just going to crank out quantity of content as opposed to quality of content. And anyway, it's a long thing, Ahmed. All right, next up. Ahmed Z also writes, I'm a bit confused why HBO Max is only keeping Wonder Woman 84 on HBO Max for 1 month. That's annoying. I feel like they are trying to frustrate their subscribers. First baiting us with Harry Potter, then removing it quickly. Sigh. Anyhow, who pumped for Mando episode 12? Well, everybody's pumped for Mando episode 12. Yeah, that is one of the things, though, in that Wonder Woman 84 press release that everybody just glossed over. Everybody just glossed over that one little detail in the report. That Wonder Woman 84 will be on HBO Max for HBO subscribers for 1 month. And then it'll be gone. Not gone forever, I'm sure. But it'll be gone. Why doing this? Why are they doing this? The only thing I can assume is that, and I don't know this for sure, to be clear, my assumption right now is that it probably has to do with something similar to the Harry Potter situation. They were only able to keep Harry Potter on there because they had pre-existing licensing deals that Harry Potter had to go somewhere else at a certain time. I think they should have been more transparent about that when promoting, because when they were first launching HBO Max, it was, come get HBO Max, everybody, we got the Harry Potter movies. And then 1 month later, less than a month later, boom, they were gone. They were on another network because of pre-existing licensing deals. They should have just been more transparent about that when they were advertising it as a means to get people to sign up for HBO Max. So my assumption right now is there might be some pre-existing licensing deal in place for Wonder Woman 84. I don't know that for certain, but that assumption, that guess, that theory does line up with the facts that we have. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I know they're not doing it intentionally to frustrate their subscribers. That's certainly not the case. So we'll see. And no matter, even if it is disappear after a month, it will be back at some point. Whether that's in 2 years or 3 years or 5, I don't know, but it'll be back. All right. Kara Black writes, had Wonder Woman 84 stuck to its original release date in 2019, it would have made well over $1 billion and jumped Aquaman as the highest grossing DC film. Maybe. It certainly had the potential to. It had the potential to. It being a foregone conclusion, I wouldn't say it was a foregone conclusion, but it certainly had the potential to do that. As the highest grossing DC film, but Warner Brothers just had to put it on the 3-year anniversary of the first Wonder Woman film. They cost themselves a massive profit. Well, you got to remember your basic premise of that they cost themselves a massive profit. Absolutely. They absolutely did. Is there a day that goes by right now that they don't kick themselves over moving it off of that release date? Nope, not a day goes by that they don't kick themselves about that. But they didn't, it wasn't exclusively to meet the X anniversary. It was because they didn't want to get in the way of Star Wars. and Star Wars, which ultimately, I mean, I really didn't like the newest Star Wars, but it did gross well over $1 billion. So, which, you know, would have meant it would have been a little stiff competition. But yeah, I think had it originally come out pre-pandemic, it would have been a massive windfall. Whether it got to $1 billion or not, whether it got to 1.1 billion, whether it got to 800 million or 900, whatever, massive financial windfall. And I completely agree, Kara, that however much it would have been a massive windfall that they don't kick themselves over every day. All right, the Nerd Errant writes, yes, 73 million subscriptions in a year with only one high-profile original show, but high-profile content does have strong come for the X, stay with the Y pull, where the libraries are the Y, and competition will increase, especially post-lockdown. Absolutely, that's exactly what I said in the show the other day. If you remember back, I think it was Wednesday that I did my episode all on, you know, the why Disney Plus has gone all in, why Disney has gone all in on Disney Plus, and why I believe it is likely that Black Widow, I said I don't know that it is. I'm just saying I believe it's likely that Black Widow will end up going straight to Disney Plus. But one of the points that I made sure to highlight was content, the library content is king. If you remember, I made that one big point. Library content exceeds and is more important than original content. Now, of course, original content then eventually becomes library content as well. But yeah, I made that point over and over again. So I completely agree, Nerd Aaron. I completely agree. There is a vital role for original content, particularly exclusive original content. But at the back of it, the beating heart of streaming services is actually library. That's why in 2019, I'm sure the numbers have changed a little bit since then, but in 2019, 80% of Netflix's traffic was for curated content, not Netflix originals. Think about that. Because when you think about Netflix, you think about, oh, The Crown, Stranger Things, House of Cards, Punisher, Daredevil. You think of all these original things, but the reality was 80% of Netflix traffic was for curated, like reruns of How I Met Your Mother, curated content, and only 20% was original. That is key. Now, I'm sure maybe that those numbers have shifted a little bit, but the premise is there. It's absolutely library is king when it comes to streaming stuff, Nerd Errant, and it is an X and Y thing, and so I completely agree. All right, Kara Black writes, John, this Sunday, The Undertaker will give his farewell promo to the WWE at Survivor Series. He's already retired, so what does that mean? Anyway, which is the 30th anniversary of his WWE debut at the 1990 Survivor Series show. What is your favorite Undertaker moment / memory from his legendary career? And by the way, there's a little documentary series called The Last Ride that that documents the final couple of years of the Undertaker's career before he finally retired. It's really amazing. It's really, really good. Anyway, I mean, look, Undertaker has gone through so much since he never spoke on the mic and Paul Bearer did everything and he had the white face to, you know, when he became the American Badass. Remember when he changed his iconic dong, that entrance music, and he changed it to that rolling, and he'd ride in a thing on his motorcycle. Then he went back to Undertaker. I mean, there's a lot of different things, but I'm going to say the two things that everybody else will say as well. His WrestleMania matches with Shawn Michaels and the most iconic event in wrestling history to me, his Hell in a Cell match with Mankind, with Mick Foley. Those now the Hell in a Cell, that's really more a thing of Mick Foley, but still, when I think of Undertaker, I think of that match and I think of his stuff with Shawn Michaels. So those are the ones that kind of stand out to me the most. All right. Next up, Dominic writes, hey, John and crew, I love the show. Thank you so much, Dominic. We always say a movie can only reach its financial potential with a theatrical run. Its true, full financial potential, yes. Now we are saying that studios want to go all in on streaming. What gives? Will we see lower movie budgets? What should we expect? Yeah, I just kind of went into that a little bit a minute ago. We definitely will. 100%. Now, don't get me wrong. We will still see HBO Max, Disney Plus, a couple of times a year, we'll do some big tentpole event, blockbuster type film and put a lot of money and resources into it and make it a truly spectacle and blah, blah, blah. They will still do that once or twice a year. But gone will be the days, 2017, 2018, 2019 in particular, where it became a regular event. Where every few weeks we could expect a big show-stopping premium blockbuster legit movie come out in theaters and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, those days are gone. Those days will be gone. I don't know if that's going to happen in the first year or in the first 3 years, but you mark my words, by year 5, 6, 7, we're going, oh yeah, holy crap. Yeah, we get a lot fewer of these things than we used to. A lot fewer than we used to. But so yes, I do believe we're going to see that. We're going to see a lot lower budget stuff. Now look, on the one hand, Mandalorian, right? It's an expensive show, but it's also lower budget. And it's great. But imagine if Mandalorian was a 2 hour and 15 minute movie. If they did a Mandalorian movie, a 2 hour and 15 minute movie, and they gave Jon Favreau like literally $200 million to make that 1 2 hour movie. Imagine with that story and those characters, with that type of budget and the spectacle that they can make and roll. Imagine what that could be. And we're not, it's just gonna, it's not that we're not going to get any more. It's just going to be fewer and far between because they don't need to give us more of those to keep our subscriptions because they've got the great library and they'll keep adding to the library every year. So we'll see again. And maybe I'm just being overly pessimistic. Like maybe 3 or 4 months from now, I'll have a different point of view on it. Maybe I'll just feel better about it a few months from now. Right now, I'm not going to lie. I'm feeling kind of pessimistic about it, but whatever. It is what it is. All right. An anonymous viewer writes, "Hey, John and crew, love the show. Thank you so much. With the focus on streaming, will we see big budget films go away or maybe become limited series? What do you think will happen to big tentpole movies in a streaming focused world?" Whereas we just kind of said, they'll still be there. They'll still exist. Like even look at Netflix, right? Once in a while, Netflix will come out with something premium. They've had 2 this year that I think were really good. They had Old Guard and they had Trial of the Chicago 7. Trial of the Chicago 7, by the way, I'm always bagging on Netflix for how bad their original movies are. At least 99% of them. But Trial of the Chicago 7 is my favorite movie of the year. I mean, pretty handily. Trial of the Chicago 7 is my favorite movie of the year. It's a Netflix film. Now, they also did Extraction, the Chris Hemsworth one. Listen, I know a lot of people appreciate it. That's great. I still believe that's a poor movie. I believe that was a bad movie. And I'm a big Chris Hemsworth fan. I thought that was a very poor movie with a terrific action sequence in it. A couple of really good action sequences, but the one with the car especially, fantastic sequence. But overall, I thought it was a very poor movie. So they've had 2. So I believe they will still, once in a while, now and again, they will still be there. You will still see big budget, epic kind of blockbuster premium sort of movies. They're just going to be a lot rarer. That's all I'm saying. They're just going to be a lot rarer. And instead, we're going to get like Disney Plus's piece of garbage, Noelle. Remember that one? About Santa's daughter? And hell, I love Anna Kendrick. I mean, you put Anna Kendrick in a shoe commercial, I'll watch it. I love Anna Kendrick. That was a terrible movie. But I mean, it is what it is. All right, let's see. What's next? Nerd Errant writes, "Wild guess, I admit, but I predict theaters will be around as people still like the experience, but shift from movies playing on them first to a grab bag of movies from all years. Hey, the Cinemark has a double feature of Aquaman and Back to the Future." Well, again, Nerd Aaron, I believe, like I said a little bit earlier, there will always be movie theaters, much like there's always going to be record players. There will always be movie theaters. The thing is, the economics of it are going to change radically, and therefore, like, here's the thing. Somebody running out to a double feature of Aquaman and Back to the Future is going to be a small group of people. And no one's going to pay a premium ticket price, so they're only going to be willing to pay very small dollars, which won't pay for staff and won't pay for these big movie theaters and won't pay for them to be in existence. They need more. You need more business than that. So they will be around. I just don't know that, they're not going to be plentiful and they're not going to be very lucrative, like sort of thing. So I don't know, but I do believe one way or another, they will stick around. It's just that the current model, I think, is kind of going to be a thing of the past. All right, next up, Preston the Kryptonian writes, "Hey, John, did you hear about the oldest Batman comic, number 27 of Detective Comics, was sold for a whopping $1.5 million just yesterday? This is the most any comic has sold in Batman comic history. The only one that sold more was the same copy, or not the same copy, but another copy of the same issue." Yeah, it is crazy, but you know what? It's not just comic books. It's so many different things. Like I mentioned Pawn Stars the other day, and I don't watch Pawn Stars much, but I've watched a bunch of Pawn Stars. And it's always amazed me, things people bring in. It's like, oh yeah, I can value this at $7,000. I'm like, what? Or they've had something else come in. I can value this at $2.3 million. It's like, what? But one of the things that I learned really is true. The worth of something is whatever somebody's willing to pay for it. Right? Like I could say, what's something I got in here? Okay. Here's this little glow-in-the-dark Baby Yoda I have here, right? This is John Campea's little glow-in-the-dark Baby Yoda. What's it worth? It's probably worth $8. No, that's not what it's worth. Because if out there somewhere, there's some fan of the John Campea Show who also really likes Baby Yoda, and they're like, oh my goodness. Now, this is obviously clearly a fictional scenario. I'm just saying, oh my goodness, I would pay $1 million to not only have this adorable glow-in-the-dark Baby Yoda, but the one that actually belonged to John Campea. To which I would say, you son of a bitch, if you have $1 million to spend on this thing, why aren't you super chatting in $100,000? But I digress. Because things are worth whatever somebody is willing to pay for it. And it is crazy, but it's not just that, man, there are Pokemon cards that go for ridiculous amounts of money. It's crazy what the collection industry is kind of worth. All right, next up, The Sock writes, "I just found an app on Oculus called Big Screen Beta. It's a virtual theater and there's multiple environments, traditional theater, campfire, living room, etc. Haven't tried it yet, but I'm very intrigued." I mean, I remember I think the very first VR thing I ever tried was a virtual movie theater. Those have been around. Those have been around for a while. Like I remember, and this was going back like 3 years ago, that I put on this VR headset and I'm in a movie theater. And I would look around and I'm looking into this big empty movie theater. And the really cool thing was you could pick like YouTube videos. Actually, my Oculus that I have a Generation 1 Oculus. And like I can set it up so I can watch YouTube like I'm in a movie theater. I can bring up YouTube videos and look and feel like you're in a movie theater. So yeah, those have been around. Those are actually pretty fun. Those are not the best video quality, granted, but I wouldn't want to watch, Avengers Endgame or something on it. But it actually is a pretty fun experience. It's pretty cool. All right, next up, Andy Hong writes, "Finished the Supernatural series finale, and I am floored by how emotionally beautiful it is. I honestly don't know what I'm going to do each week now after spending more than half of my life on it. However, I'm glad to have been on this ride with Sam and Dean. Carry on." Yeah, listen, I'll tell you, I finally, the day after it aired, I watched the series finale of Supernatural. And they did this little documentary, this little hour-long documentary first about the series and the show, and then they did the final episode. And was it a great episode? No, it wasn't a terrible series finale. I've certainly seen many, many worse, but it wasn't a great standalone episode, but it was kind of the what's it called? The epilogue? Is that what comes after the end? It was a nice epilogue. Like, because really the last episode was really kind of the end of the story. Right? That was really kind of the end of Supernatural there. It really did feel like the series finale, but they decided to do one more as the epilogue. And it was sweet. And it was nice. I'm not going to give things away because it only aired the other day, so I don't want to give away any major spoilers. There were a couple of things that I kind of disliked, but again, it was one last ride with Sam and Dean. And I have watched this show for 15 years, almost 15. I didn't get on board with the show when it first started. I think when I first got on board with Supernatural, it might have been in season 3. And then I backtracked and watched it through. But for almost 15 years, I've been watching Supernatural. Has it ever been the greatest show on TV? No. But what kept drawing me back to Supernatural every single year was I just loved these characters so much. Whether it was Sam and Dean, or whether it was some of the auxiliary characters like Castiel or Crowley, or Bobby, or all the other various, like Chuck, or all the other various characters along the way. I especially started to love it when these characters they'd meet in one episode then came back to become semi-reoccurring characters, like the woman who's the sheriff. She became like a serious character in the show. And I always love that stuff as well. It was just these characters. I could just sit and watch. Like when Crowley was still on, I could sit and watch Sam and Dean and Crowley in the bunker talking over that table for an hour. I could have watched that for an hour. It was the dialogue and the characters and the chemistry. And that's why even when they had semi-weaker seasons, like the one season with the Leviathan, I didn't love the season with the Leviathan, but I still loved watching every episode because I just loved every week going and hanging out with those guys. I loved it. And it's hard because it's been around for so long. It's hard to remember a time in my life when I wasn't watching Supernatural. It is the longest running genre show in history. And overall, just one of the longest running, narrative story shows ever. There have been a couple that have run longer, but as far as genre shows go, I think it's the longest running genre show of all time. And it is going to be weird seeing, like, I remember back about, I can't remember if it was about 8 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever, but, Jensen Ackles tried to do that horror movie, Bloody Valentine or something Valentine. It didn't really work. And Jared Padalecki did that Friday the 13th movie. It didn't really work. And so it's going to be interesting to see how they're able to. So obviously Padalecki's got the Walker, Texas Ranger show coming up. We've just found out that Jensen Ackles is re-teaming with Eric Kripke on The Boys. He's going to play Soldier Boy in The Boys, the first superhero. It's going to be neat to see where their careers go from here. But wherever their careers go, even if they end up winning 5 Emmys and 30 Oscars between them, they'll always be Sam and Dean to me. And I will always treasure Supernatural. I'll always personally treasure Supernatural. Thanks for that, Andy. All right, guys, just time for a couple more here. Kevin Lewis writes, "Hey, JC, +1, nobody here with me today. I was signed in to the live Thursday show when you responded to the Gina Carano situation, when the Gina Carano situation came up. Oh my God, now I know why you stay away from socio-political topics. The live chat started throwing poop at each other with left versus right diatribes." Yeah, I know it's that, but honestly, I don't avoid socio-political topics on this show because I'm afraid of people's reactions. That's not why I avoid those topics. The reason I don't get into politics on my show is because, number one, I'm just an average person. I have no credentials or anything like that to be spouting off political punditry. As an individual who lives here, I will give my opinion, and sure I do, and I should on my own personal social media channels. But the reason I avoid political stuff is because here, I look at my show kind of as a house, and in this house, all movie fans are welcome. I don't care if you're politically left or politically right. In this house, we all only have one label: movie fans. That's it. We're movie fans. And everything else you can just leave at the door. And maybe outside of this house, we'll have our disagreements about these other issues, maybe even very passionate disagreements about these other issues. And that's all well and good. But for those 2 hours, Monday through Friday, in this house for those 2 hours, that baggage gets left outside. And in here, we're just movie fans together. And we're just here to celebrate and talk about the things we mutually love. There may be a lot of things outside of the door that we very much disagree on and we could be very passionately disagree about. But in here, we're all fellow movie fans that will like and dislike different things, but we just celebrate that. We just celebrate each other, that I love that you're a movie fan and you love that I'm a movie fan. And that's all it is. And that's why I kind of avoid those things on this show. And I know there may be some others who make politics a part of their thing, maybe because they're trying to specifically appeal to a certain, they want to really ingratiate themselves to people who really lean one way politically or the other. I don't play that game. Like, look, if you're a super liberal person, whatever, you're welcome here. If you're a super conservative person, you're welcome here. You're kind of one of these centrists, great, you're welcome here. It doesn't matter. We're all movie fans. It's all that matters. Now, again, I am an individual. I have a responsibility as an individual to voice my concerns and opinions. And you know what? I do that on my personal social media channels. And if you are interested in my personal views on things like that, you can go and follow my social media channels. But when you come here, I know you're not coming here for my political views. And you know that when you come here, I, as your host, don't care what your political views are. You're a film fan, you're welcome. You're welcome. You are welcome here. So that's just kind of my thoughts on that, at any rate. But yeah, I didn't read through the live chat while I was talking about the Gina Carano situation, only because I'm a lot of times on my show, I'm not reading the live chat. It's not that I don't care about what's going on in the live chat. People don't understand how much, it takes focus to talk about issues. I'm not only talking about all the things going on and what the topics of the show are, but I'm also trying to operate the show. Like I'm trying to keep an eye on the audio. I'm trying to keep an eye on the health of the stream. I'm trying to get ready to set up the next images that come up and all that. And I'm doing all that while trying to maintain my stream of thought and talking directly thing. So I don't have time to always look over to the live chat and say, okay, guys, let's pause now as I read through the chat. What's being said in here? Scroll through and yeah, and there's nothing wrong if I wanted to do that. It's just I don't often have time, so I'll just glance over the live stream every once in a while just to make sure everything's okay quick. But yeah, it is what it is. All right, let's see here. Call me Ishmael writes, those damn Winchesters, John, they got me. Man, tears. I love the way they ended the show. My question is, how long do you think Sam and Dean will be happy living in the first version of the Matrix? Again, I've got my theories, but despite the fact that I have my theories, I don't want to go into details in case there are some other fellow Supernatural fans, because I didn't watch the series finale on the night that it aired. I'd watched it the next day. So that was just a couple of days ago, and it is the series finale. It's not just another episode. To me, another episode, you've got like a 24-hour, maybe 48-hour grace period, and then all bets are off as far as spoiler discussion goes. But for the series finale, I'm going to give people a little bit more time. Yeah, I did. I'm not gonna lie, it's got a little, eyes might have got a little bit watery. I might have got a little choked up watching the final one, hearing "Carry On My Wayward Son" one last time. All right, Kevin Lewis writes, John, the theory of Killmonger, played by Michael B. Jordan, becoming the new Black Panther shouldn't be so easily dismissed. Oh, it absolutely 1000% should be. It doesn't matter what you're about to say. It absolutely should be dismissed. Anyway, you find him irredeemable. That's not the issue. Anyway, let's keep reading here. But his kills were made as a soldier of war. No, they were not. As Saul of Tarsus became Paul, the elders will convert him. No. See, here's the thing, Kevin. This whole thing about Killmonger becoming the new Black Panther. And it doesn't matter. Some people say, "But he died. It doesn't. Like, it's the Marvel fake death universe. You can bring him back like that. It doesn't matter." But no, that's not why you can't have him be the new Black Panther. Eric is a traitor of Wakanda. He committed high treason against Wakanda. He murdered Wakandans, not as a soldier of war, but as a tyrant, trying to usurp the throne and committing high treason. So he murdered royal, I'm not talking about T'Challa, but like their family, Forrest Whitaker. He murdered high-ranking officials. He would murder other people just for the sake of it. He murdered Dora Milaje. He tried to commit mass genocide. He tried to use Wakanda as his weapon to commit mass genocide across the world. He encouraged treason against the king. He let his own girlfriend die because, you're just a means to my end, blah, blah, blah. He is a murderer. He is a traitor. He is all these things. Does that mean he is absolutely, in the world of comic books, irredeemable? Not necessarily. But there's a difference between saying, hey, there could be like a redemption arc for a character, maybe, but Killmonger presses the limits of what that can be. He's literally a traitor to Wakanda. He murdered a lot of Wakandans, beyond directly murdering a lot of Wakandans, including close, like high royal court members, Dora Milaje, and he indirectly caused the death of a lot of other Wakandans. He caused a short-lived Wakandan civil war. He was trying to use Wakanda to commit mass genocide in the world. I'm sorry, that character doesn't get to go, you know what? I'm a good boy now. Okay, you get to be king. No. That's just not, no, that can't happen. It wouldn't happen in a billion years. And there is a difference between a character having a redemption arc and then what realistically could happen as so for instance, we all talk about the redemption of Darth Vader, right? Vader, this is up for debate, but in a way had a redemption arc by saving Luke and throwing the Emperor down the pit, right? Okay, but if Vader hadn't have died, did he have a redemption arc? Yes. Do you think the Intergalactic Council will go, you know what? Hey, Anakin Skywalker, you're a good guy now. You should be Chancellor of the New Republic because you're a good guy now. No, that wouldn't have happened. Listen, that's good that you had a redemption arc, but you are one of the authors of genocide across the galaxy. You're responsible for the death of a lot of people. You've committed so many crimes against humanity and against goodness and what everything is. It's great that you're kind of a good guy now, but you don't get to be king. So yeah, maybe somewhere in there, if Eric survived and if they say he's alive, that maybe you could have some sort of redemption arc for the character's soul. But the traitor and the high treasonist against Wakanda itself, the murderer of Wakandans, that person who tried to usurp the throne and murder the rightful king, not in their legal one-on-one combat, but after it came back that T'Challa's still alive. I never yielded, and as you can see, I'm still alive. He then tried to illegally assassinate the king. He tried to set Wakanda on the path of mass genocide and set it in a war against the rest of the earth. That guy may have a little bit of a redemption arc for his soul, maybe. And I'm not even saying that's possible. But if you did that, that's a far cry from saying, all of Wakanda go, oh, look at him. He's a good guy now. Let's make him our king. No, it's utterly preposterous. It is an utterly preposterous position. And you can love that character. And I love it's a great character. The Killmonger character is a fabulous character, played brilliantly by Michael B. Jordan. But that doesn't change what the character is. And I've yet to hear any remotely valid argument to the contrary. But anyway, that's just kind of my take on that. It is an absolutely, utterly impossible thing to happen. All right. Anyway, let's do one more final one, and then we'll wrap this thing up here, guys. Mr. Graham 91 writes, it's hard to write this, but after 15 years, Supernatural is over. The ending was so beautiful. Carry on, Winchester boys. Carry on. And it was. Look, again, like I said earlier, Mr. Graham, it wasn't a great episode per se, but it was a good ending. Not a great episode, but a good ending. You know, it was an ending befitting the show. And like I said before, the previous episode was really the finale to the series. This one was an epilogue, if I'm even saying that right. This one was an epilogue to it. Kind of just a little tie the bow off. You know, because what they could have done, and this would have been fine, what they could have done is in the last episode, that episode ends, and it really did feel like a series finale. That episode could have ended, and they just could have said happily ever after. This epilogue was, okay, yeah, the story's done. What happened in the happily ever after? What happened after the end of the Supernatural story, which was last episode? What then happened to the boys after that? You know, it was a little tag on. And as that, it worked. Again, not a great standalone episode. Not all good things like the name of the finale of Star Trek The Next Generation. But it was oddly appropriate and satisfying. And it worked. And I'm going to miss this show. I'm really going to miss this show. I don't think I even really fully understood how much I was going to miss this show until I watched the last episode. Like the one with the story climax with Chuck and Jack and all that kind of stuff. When I was watching that episode, I realized I'm really going to miss this show. Just hanging out with the boys, you know? And yeah, there it is. All right, guys, listen, there are still a number of other questions to go, but this has gone a little bit long for a companion video. We're going to pick things up on the John Campea Show with Movie Idiot and Hot Rod Todd. We're going to start off the live questions part of the show with you guys. We're almost caught up, and we should be caught up by the end of that one. Anyway, guys, that'll do it for this installment of the companion videos. Thank you so much for being here, guys. And thank you to all of you who sent in those questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel while you did it. And all of us involved with the John Campea Show, thank you guys very, very much for that. All right, guys, that'll do it for me. Thanks a lot for being here. My name's John Campea. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.